All right, so I don't normally do this, but I want to give you a little bit of context first before I have you start on the first stage of this protocol. I want you to notice, kind of look at all four of them. I want you to notice they're all the same division problem, and they all have the same answer. They might be right, they might all be wrong, I won't tell you that. But they are the same problem, and there is the, at least, proposal of all having the same correct answer. You're going to have to figure that out, but notice that. All right, so a couple reminders for the Placemat protocol. The first, 4 stages as we rotate around, it's silent. You're not really collaborating together. You're going to focus on one document at a time. At first, you're not going to be writing. You're just going to be looking at the document, noticing and wondering, and then you'll have time to write in that corresponding quadrant. We'll rotate. We'll do that 4 times so that you get to see all 4 documents, and then you'll get to talk about it. So everyone make sure you have a marker. Everyone make sure you're stationed in front of one of the 4 quadrants. And for 60 seconds, there's no writing. I just want you to look. I know you've already been looking, but that's okay. I just want you to look at the document that's in front of you. Look for patterns, what happened. It's a worked example, so of course you're probably going to be thinking, are they right or wrong? That's okay. Just 1 minute of open noticing and wondering. 30 more seconds, no writing. Remember, everyone's got their own document, so we're not talking yet. The first half of this is silent. All right, for about 1 minute in that corresponding quadrant, wherever you're standing, I want you to jot down what are some of those things that you notice, what are some of those things that you wonder. It can be direct patterns you see, the numbers, you can describe what happened, anything you want. There's no wrong answer here. What do you notice? What do you wonder looking at that document? About 20 more seconds. Five seconds, wrap up that last thought. 2, 1. All right, cap your markers. Leave the document where it's at, leave the chart alone, but I want you to keep your marker with you, and everyone rotate around that chart clockwise. So just move over one section, move over one quadrant, you're going to a new document, a new section, and for 60 seconds, there's no writing. For 60 seconds, you are just noticing and wondering. You can read what the last person wrote, but you can't write anything yet. All right. 60 seconds to write. You may add your own new thoughts. You can also respond to what the last person wrote. Remember, everybody's got a different document. We're all writing in a different spot. So we're not talking about it yet. Just jot in your quadrant. What did you notice? What did you wonder looking at your document? All right, wrap that up. Cap your markers. We're going to rotate same direction, just one quadrant over. Same direction, one quadrant over. 60 seconds on the clock to notice and wonder with the new document. Go ahead and start reading what the other, what your partners have written as well. Go ahead and start reading that and look at the new document. Add on to what your partners have written and add your own noticings and wonderings as well. We got one more rotation, so rotate again. This is our fourth stop, so you're getting to the fourth document, the last one you haven't seen yet. 60 seconds for one final time. 60 seconds to notice and wonder. Remember, look at the document and look at what your partners have already written. All right, there's already a lot on the chart, so this time I'm only going to give you 45 seconds for some final additions to the quadrant. 45 seconds. Any final notes or ways you want to annotate what's there? 5, 2, 1. All right, cap your markers. For the next 2 minutes, only 2 minutes, I want you to just have an open discussion. You've been collaborating a lot just by writing. I want you to talk about it now. So 2 minutes, open discussion. What did you notice? What did you wonder?
Well, I went way back to my old school here when I noticed they multiplied by 10 this one, but not this one.
Yeah.
So I got to thinking it would not be right, but it was. It still ended up okay.
Just break it down into
But in my
smaller
mind,
portions.
because of the way I was taught,
Yeah.
when you multiply 1 by 10, you better, because you had to move the decimal, so you added that 0. But it worked out because of the way you did that.
I always think about doubling and halving. Because
Yeah.
those are friendly numbers if you could double or half something. Yeah.
Because see, I went, the
That's
way
what I was
way
thinking
back
too.
when
Yeah, I was
when
thinking
I was
why-
taught.
Why you did that here and not there? But
Yeah.
See how they added 36 and 68.
If the ones place was a multiple of 4, they did a 10. But if it
Oh, and get.
Because then that
Oh, they would have been at 70.
that petition 78.
Yeah.
I just said they
They're probably just working at, like, okay, double that, okay, double that.
was taking a
Yeah.
Too long. 20 and 40 together is 60. They probably.
risk taker. I'm like, this person's risk taker. Out of all of them, like, ability to take risks.
Yeah, and like 204, if I know I'm working with 34, like, interesting.
But this one's more visual.
Yeah, this one would be me. Like, I would want to get as close to that quotient as possible. And, well, not the quotient, but you know the dividend. But I would want to get as close as possible the first time because of this. I don't want to make more mistakes down here. Because
And I'm
this
wondering,
required
did they add this,
regrouping.
or is this just randomly underlined? Because this is not good.
That's right, exactly. I was like,
They
that's not right.
jumped out of order. The question is, did they add what I was looking at is maybe they added these two. And they thought 20, 40. And
Yeah, is that what
that's
they're
how I
doing?
saw it.
But then I said if you get 70 here, if they had added all of that, it would have been correct on the first
The
try.
first one, yeah.
Yep,
If they had-
exactly.
Yeah, they just added all three.
Yep, and then 70. That's funny.
Same strategy, this one just like, I'm thinking for an estimate.
This is, yeah.
I like this one though because this is your visual person.
And my lower students.
They're like going by 10s, but then they're a little unsure, so they only start going by
The issue with this
20s.
one is like you had to regroup here. If you would, this is the biggest mistake for our fifth graders is gonna be
this?
regrouping and subtraction, repeated subtraction. That's all of our fifth graders. If they're struggling with division, that's where it is right now. Even if we give them multiplication support, most of our kids will struggle with subtraction right here.
Because they'd have to borrow a 1 from
They
here.
would put a 3 right there. This is 0 minus 3 is put a 3. That's the biggest mistake right there. Yeah.
Interesting. Do you see that when your kids get to you? Same kind of mistakes? Or are they interesting? There's probably a lot of concepts they don't really know why they work because the calculator just tells you. Yeah.
Because they got such a hard time with that.
So here's how I want you to tailor your discussions and respond in the center. So in the center, I want you to choose one of the examples of the partial quotient strategy to rate and review. And if you don't remember, rate and review, that's one of the like small protocols we did a few sessions ago. So you're going to give it from 1 to 5 stars, right? Is it a 1-star strategy? Is it a 5-star strategy? Is it somewhere in between? But you have to write a review, that should say to justify your number of stars. So you're going to give it a number of stars and then also write out, like justify. Why did you give it 3 stars? Why did you give it 4 stars? Why did you give it 1? So choose one. You can use the colors. You can say like the blue one, 4 stars. However you want to do that.
There's a better number sense.
Yeah, numbers.
But I think even your lower kids, once they started seeing the others and the importance of the writing it down, that's my struggle.
But
I
they could
can't
look
get
at
them to write it down.
Because they could look at that one, and look at all the 10s, and see they could
Make sense of that.
Yeah, well, that's, you know,
Those 3 10s
20,
with the
40,
20 would
50,
be-
there's that.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
2 10s, you could do
And start
that.
making the
That's how I
connection.
figured it out, because I didn't know what this was when I first looked. I was like, what is this? Why? But then when I went over there, I was like, because you only want one division. Yeah.
Yeah,
Instead of partial quotient.
yeah.
That's the thing. I would take one of these because it shows the number sense that goes.
There's a solid understanding.
Yeah. So yeah. 5 stars.
What is it? Because it's the whole thing together, right?
It's all of these
Yeah.
steps
What we would
condensed
give.
into these 2.
Okay.
I have more kids over maybe there to there. I got a few kids here though.
We gotta rate one, so you're gonna rate that one, sure. Yeah. How many stars?
3?
How many?
Like, it's not a bad, you're
They
doing,
persevered. They're doing the algorithm.
right.
They persevered just a little longer than.
It just took a little too long, but
Well,
that's
and
okay.
there's more, in all honesty, there's more.
I got a
room
question
for
real
error.
quick. Do we know that strategy, just by looking at the work, do we know that one was more or less efficient than, say, the blue one?
There's more room for error.
There's, yeah, that's the only
subtracting.
There's
thing.
more room for error, okay.
But no, you got the same answer.
We got the same answer. Do we know, like, if those were 2 different students, do we know which student took longer?
That's when I would
We
think.
could guess.
I mean, based on,
Okay.
If
we've
they
already-
can
we've
do
already-
this,
right.
they
already
can
judged
probably
them.
do it.
Okay. So if that was done quickly, right? Okay.
Yeah, we've already judged them, that we already gave them levels.
They were the highest.
Yeah. That's okay.
all right,
This is
This
my,
is our intervention kid. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That student's doing
persevere.
grade level
Yeah,
work. I'm
yeah,
not giving that
perseveres.
student interventions. They're
Well-
doing grade level work.
yeah, but this kid might be on number 10 when we're still working on number 1, so we
Yeah.
gotta work on our perseverance.
They're only going to have to do 1 or 2 of them on PM3. So, they're only going to get 1 or 2 division questions.
But they have 35 questions. They have
That's
to do.
fair. That is fair.
Right.
Okay.
They're
And if
still
it
trying
takes
to, they're still trying to remember what fabric meant in that question that you asked them. Or since when
funny.
does bread come in by pound? So we're gonna say
For first place.
4-star.
Yeah. And I always like to think about, too, like, looking at sample work. We don't really know how long it took students in between steps. Like you were talking about, like the half of 340 is 170. Maybe that
That's what I
student
said. I
thought
don't see
about
your
that for a
thinking over
couple
here.
of minutes before they wrote it down. Like maybe it took them a minute to work that out.
That's why I said, we said this was the one that I would like because I see this one as they added 68 and 136 to get to 204.
Yeah.
We
just
like
doubled, we doubled.
Right, but you were saying if they had just gone ahead and added all the way down,
Ah.
then it would have been 70 and they would have
Yeah.
had the answer immediately. I do like the doubles and halves strategy, but here I like that they got closer and they didn't have to regroup. So I think like we're
Avoid
kinda tied
regrouping
on
at
both
all
of these.
costs.
That's what we were
I-
doing. That's why I said
I'm
like,
like,
this
what's
is the way I would get.
Yeah, I'm with that. Avoid regrouping at all costs. All right, so I just to share out, because I think it'll be cool to hear different ones. Which color did y'all review? Green. So they left a review for the green. Which color did y'all review? Green and blue. Okay. Which one did y'all review?
Technically red and blue.
Red and blue. Ah, so we had only 3 groups, and we had at least 3 different things. So, all right, that's cool. That's cool. All right. I didn't say this before, so I want to say this now. The other 2 tasks I kind of set up, like when I think they might happen. We just jumped right into this one. I probably wouldn't do this right after the sort that we did. Like we would need to do some more work in between. I won't say it that way. I wouldn't be scared for this to be the first thing students are doing when we're about to be actually dividing with decimals, when we're going to figure out the quotients. And I say that because I made some very intentional decisions around the numbers. Yes, it's a decimal, but we had no remainder. The numbers were relatively friendly, and so the partials kind of worked out. Like once we started working with the partials, we didn't have to worry about the decimals. So I wouldn't be scared for this to be like day one activity of when we're about to actually start working on dividing with decimals. I will say for the 5th grade teachers in the room, this is one of the few places where, I don't want to say I would advocate, but I certainly understand a feeling that you need an algorithm moving forward from this. I say that with a little hesitation because when they go to 6th grade, they get a calculator, and algorithms are outdated because the calculator is a better algorithm than they are. However, once we start dividing with some pretty complex decimals, in 5th grade, we're not representing remainders like we do in 4th grade. We're not writing R7. We're not just putting like 7/4. And if we are going to write it as a fraction, but my remainder is a decimal, we don't deal with complex fractions in elementary school either. And so there is a need for something more algorithmic, something a little more procedural than just partial quotients with this model, dealing with those remainders with decimals. So that would eventually come up. And I just say that so that 5th grade teachers don't think I'm saying don't use the standard algorithm or don't use a standard algorithm for division. When we're getting into the more complex decimals at the very end, I think there's certainly a case that it's pretty necessary, very temporarily necessary. If we build enough understanding prior to that, it's going to happen relatively easily, and then when they move to 6th grade, it won't matter because they get a calculator. But I do see a space for that. We just didn't do anything with that space today.